weekend. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Memorial Day weekend. And I hope you guys are going to have a really great weekend and lots of different things in store. Um, I wanted to talk today about standing up for something. And like the title says, its consequences and its benefits. There's a lot of people in the truther movement that have not understood why so many people that were actually in the know of a lot of things that people find out through their own research, just online. They never really lived it. They never really knew all these people that they talk about. You know, in all due respect, you know, these are individuals that I'm grateful that they're willing to learn about this stuff, and want to expose it. But what I find really interesting is that in this whole hoopla of people vying for being the biggest voice in exposing a lot of these different things, the people that actually lived it and the people that finally kind of want to share some things get thrown under the bus. They also get ostracized from their current community within that realm. They lose a lot of financial issues. They lose a lot of personal contacts. They lose a lot of different opportunities. People get scared to know them. You start to have to be on the run. And yet, when they're trying to tell people a certain thing or two, maybe they'll get one or two people listening. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's why a lot of people don't, that actually have lived these things and know these people and know the game on an intimate level, that their lives were around this sort of thing. Most of them are not going to come out publicly and talk about it, especially if they've personally been abused, because, or they've been involved in situations where they've seen firsthand, because the public wants names, they want specifics, and then they also shame the same people, even if those people give the exact names, or they give the exact situations, or they're really vulnerable in their story. They come under a major onslaught of prove to me this, to the actual people, that those folks that reach out to those conversations, they need your support. So let's talk about what happens when an artist, in any different facet, whether you're in music, whether you're in film, whether you're in the visual arts, what happens to you when you, first of all, personally change your mind because you see all the insanity of what's happening. And it doesn't have to be as so extreme as, you know, the elephantis situation and the pedivore situation, which is so unbelievably extreme. And, you know, not many people are going to be super privy to that. You got to get way high up to be indoctrinated into that kind of thing. But you can see the trickle-down mentality in these different realms, little things. You can see the bondage, you can see the sadomasochism, you can see the pain in a lot of different people that gravitate towards the arts, the self-destruction, the loss of belief in God or anything good, the almost hatred for God. Like the real hatred for God. I mean, they're fine with like loving every single fallen angel there is. Like, hey, have you, last night, man, just on a personal note, this is so weird. I'm not going to tell any specifics, but I was privy to a conversation with two people that are just everyday people, and they're involved in Wicca, and they were just so positive about like, hey, have you connected with your voodoo spirit guide to get your plant, to do a cast a spell so that your plants are going to grow better in your garden? I mean, like, it's talking about like they're talking about the weather. It's trickled down that strong. They're fine with having their little GODS's all day long, because they have this weird idea that they're still in control in a way, and they feel like important, that they're down with that. Now, don't you think on a higher level that that's what Hollywood is all about, and that's what all the arts is about? You go to Los Angeles, every single block there is a psychic, there is a spirit guide. When I was there, and I was in a crisis of conscience because I had a lot of ambition, a lot of ambition. My will be done, like Kim Berry, we're going to make this happen kind of thing. But I also saw a lot of things that made me go, ooh, I don't know if I want to get involved with that. So I remember many times I'd be walking around the streets of LA, or I'd be at random places. One time it even happened when I was sitting in traffic and someone rolled down their window and said they were a psychic, and they keep telling me the same thing over and over again. You were meant to do something really great. You just need to let your guard down, connect with your inner spirits, let them um, guide you into where you're going to go, and you'll be the next Madonna. You're going to rule. I mean, 7 times in a year this happened to me, just randomly. One time I was walking on a street and this guru guy pulled me aside. Another time another guru guy came into my work and said that. I mean, just weird stuff. But for me, every time I heard that, and then, I mean, gosh, I've been around artists and musicians and that kind of, environment since I was a kid. And there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of abuse of these kids that come up into this industry. And they try to find joy, and they try to find empowerment, and they try to find celebration for what they went through, because to really acknowledge that what they went through was so horrific, and then to have the faith that there's a God that allowed that to happen to them, makes them very angry, so that they can't connect with something better. So they have to celebrate the pain. And there's where sadomasochism comes from. 50 Shades of Grey is a perfect example of that. Do you know how many people are involved in that kind of stuff? A lot. And it all comes from abuse and exploitation. So I've seen it. And I always got rejected. Like when people would first meet me and they'd see the art, and they'd see who I was, and in person they'd see I was a kind person, and I seemed to be down with the situation. But as soon as they find out that I had any inkling of a connection with God, whoo, you don't fit in with us. You don't fit in with us. And on the same side, the everyday Christian who lives that sort of, vanilla lifestyle, that doesn't know any of this stuff, they reject you too, because you're scary to them. I've even had some people that are artists that turn Christian, or whatever, and they've said to me, Kim, you're dark. It's kind of like you're walking on this weird tightrope, and you get rejected by friends, family, all kinds of things when you're trying to balance out what you see in the world, talk about it, because my art, like I never looked at art as trying to fit in, to be successful, so much as to lose my conversation with what my heart was saying. I wanted to be ambitious and think that people would actually really celebrate once they got to know me. And that's why I would do my own studios, because the galleries won't really let you speak your own mind. Like, your energy is not really there. It's like a second wave away from that. But if people actually came into my own spaces, whether it's Suite 106 or whether it was West 11 or whether it was most intimately 634, which was the family house, and in the backyard I renovated a 5-car garage and did a lot of installation work and invited the public in. We would have traveling bands come through. It was a very vulnerable place because that I couldn't hide any ghosts. And it was a battlefield because you've got people that want to maintain an image in the family that don't want to know the truth. They don't want to heal from different ghosts. You've got friends that want you to be like you were when you were 12, when they knew you back in the day. You've got new people that are involved in the art world that are indoctrinated into the exact opposite conversation that you're involved in through CMU, that want you to just be like them and speak their language, which is a death cult. And then you've got people that are good people, but there's no way they could understand what you're trying to say just looking at the art. But they feel good there, but they don't really get the conversation. And if you do try to talk about some of the dark stuff, they all of a sudden, they're like, wait, I thought you were a really happy person. I thought you were a very joyful person. I thought you were trying to bring people together. See, so it becomes a major conundrum. And there's something spiritual that happens too, that people start not liking you and they can't understand why, because it's not like you're doing anything bad to them. They just irrationally start lashing out at you when you start really standing up for something that's super deep in the world that's going on. Whether, you know, for me, it's the human trafficking. It's what's happening, the dark energy that's going on in the art world. The child trafficking, the organ trafficking, pushing this Luciferian philosophy that is so opposite of what is truly good and truly freeing in the world. If that's a bad thing, if I'm a terrible person for that, the world's inverted, isn't it? The world is inverted. And if people lash out because you're trying to talk about living life by eating real food that actually rejuvenates your cells and keeps you healthy and keeps you from thinking negative thoughts, you know, if I'm the enemy, who's the hero? If all of us are constantly being squeezed in an economy that wants us all to become bestial entities as a commodity for a global network that's based on mafia, and I stand up for that, and I try to break it down to share that with a few people that trust me, am I the enemy? If I am, what kind of philosophy do we really want to have? I've had to deal with a lot of personal rejection, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of sabotage, a lot of really weird things that go on that try to mar my character or to discredit where I've been, who I am, what I do, all kinds of things. You know, some people, they don't understand why I like to drink wine so much. They think that I'm a drunk. Have you ever seen me falling over? Have you ever seen me be belligerent? No. What's funny is that the same people that try to make it seem like it's a bad thing that I drink organic, non-GMO, amazingly antioxidant wine, the way they want to see me and think bad, that's how I feel about all y'all that I watch eating constant GMO, toxic food and colas, monster drinks. I watch you eat White Castle. I watch you eat Taco Bell. That's the stuff that creates monsters. And so I see that, and that's a scary thing, because that's the actual toxicity. But people always try to find something to down you, you know. They do. That's the consequence of standing up for something that is truly happening in the world, that's truly making just this super duper gnarly vibe. I think about I remember as a kid, one of my favorite movies was The Never-Ending Story. And if you guys know that film, it's a really great film. It talked about the nothing. You know, the nothing was taking over this imaginary world. And I think about that a lot because I feel like that's a metaphor for what's happening in our own world, because we create the world based on our imagination, what we believe in, what we believe is possible, or vice versa, what we don't believe is possible, and we go along towards the nothing. And the nothing was just eating up everything that was good and possible, and all the imaginations of what could be, into absolute nothing. And we're there. That's why there's so many zombie films. That's why people are trying to take away people's individual critical thinking and imagination, their own empowerment, and believing that what they believe in their own personal worlds is possible for themselves. They don't have to rely on big money or anything like that in order to create their reality. But if more people than not believe they have to siphon off their own imaginations, their own head, and their own hands to make anything happen in the world, to the big nothing, then yeah, we're going to have a big nothing. That's the whole thing of Buried Child, this one painting that I did way back in 2006. Let's see if I can pull it up so you can see it. I had so many things pulled up because there's so much to talk about today. Let's see if I can pull up Buried Child. But Buried Child was really important to me because I was leaving a conversation that made me feel like I could not live my own conscience. And when I left that, that was the very first painting that I did. And so it meant a lot to me. Let's see, I don't know if that's going to be it. It should be JPEG. Something that happens too. Let me see if you can see it. Can you see it there on the computer? There it is. There it is. So that's Buried Child, and that was actually I was really grateful that the big show for that one was 100 Years of Women in Contemporary Art in Long Beach back in 2011, I believe. I was part of 40 women, international artists, that showed for that, and that was the painting that they chose. And I was really grateful for that because, you know, when you look at this painting, I'm going to show it to you again. When you look at that, you notice that her head is separate from her body, and her hands are separate from her arms. And the actual painting is on drywall, and the shadow is indented, like it's an ash, like there's a lot of buildup of that white. So the actual black is embedded about an inch in, so it looks like ash. And when we grow up thinking that we can do things with our own head, our own two hands, and all of a sudden the world says, no, 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 no. You got to do what we want you to do for $1. And you can't use your own head, and you can't use your own heads. And no matter how much it makes you feel bad, or how much it feeds into the nothing, this is what you have to do to survive, but actually is a death cult. I wanted to believe that it could be different. And by creating that painting, it was acknowledging what exactly is going on. And then creating a conversation that goes, okay, we've recognized that we're buried children. Let's get our heads back on. Let's get our two hands back for ourselves. But not a lot of people want to hear that because, number one, that acknowledges that they've bought in to a lie. And a lot of people want to be right. They don't really want to focus on the truth and changing their mind to actually be freer. There's a pride You know, what does God say? Always the first, before the fall is pride. And that's the one thing, since really diving into all this stuff, that I've noticed from people, when I get backlash from them, I mean, sometimes it's just so randomly cruel and hateful. But I'll be talking about these ideas in love to them, to believe that I'm trying to inspire them to raise it up. But they don't take it that way. This is how they take it. Who the hell do you think you are? Who gave you the okay to think that you can live better than this? This was the belief I was told. We're going to bring you down. And we're going to find all kinds of ways to bring you down. We're going to find out your vulnerability. We're going to try to shame you. We're going to find out things about you and turn it upside down so that people can mock you and people can assassinate your character, that you're really not the person that you're trying to say that you are, which is, I couldn't be more transparent in my authenticity if I tried. I can't lie to save my life, you know. It's like everything is written right in my face, you know, and this is the way I live. And it's hard because of that, you know, when you get that kind of backlash. So you'll get a lot of stones thrown in many different ways. And it can be surprising because sometimes it can be from the people that you trusted the most, you know, or just randomly people because they're worried about their own ambition or whatever. Like, they love your idea, but they never really want you to be the creditor of how you inspired them. So they don't really want to tell anyone that they know you, or that, you know, they want to say it themselves. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you know, as long as the word gets out. But it's sad sometimes. It's okay. Other consequences. Right when you need something, floor gets pulled out from under you. So it's important not to feel that you have to need anything. So what are the benefits? Because I think if I keep going down the personal road of consequences, I think everyone's gonna be like so afraid of listening to anything that's good. They're gonna be like, there's no point in any of that. No, there's a lot of benefits. When you start seeing, you know, people will never tell you, you know, how you've encouraged them or how you've influenced them because of pride. And that's fine. But when you start seeing real change in hearts of people that you would never imagine would ever listen because they were so dug in to the other side, when you start seeing them listening and changing, and I don't say anything, and they're living and they're happier and they're more aware and they get closer to God, and they're not afraid anymore, and they feel empowered and they feel courageous, and they're seeing things for what's really going on, and they're not living in these layered lies of an onion that keeps them in these realms of fear and discouragement and paranoia and despair and hopelessness. That keeps me going. Today something happened. An old friend of mine that was very high up in the art world. She's one of my best friends in Los Angeles, and she's seen it all. She knew everybody. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to tell you her name because I do believe in confidentiality, because this is someone I care about very much, and she's been through a lot. She was systematically involved with a military family. When she was in her 20s, she knew everybody in the Laurel Canyon scene. She dated Timothy Leary for 10 years. She's one of the best sound light women artists of the 1960s and 70s. Brilliant woman. And I think so highly of her. But there's a lot of things that she went through that systematically tortured her. some through her own beliefs, some through the brainwashing of going through different high-level psychologists that keep them in these certain realms. The other people that were around her, it's very cult-like, but you just, when you're so in it, you don't see it. That's what I've understood. I mean, in the many conversations that we've had over the years, because I'm very transparent with her in a loving way, they're so in it that they don't see, like, this is why I really want the other side, the truthers and whatnot, to start having some compassion for some of these folks. They don't see how dark it is. There's a what's James Turrell. There's a James Turrell installation that is at the Mattress Factory in Pittsburgh that just is the quintessential metaphor for exactly the kind of world and the kind of mentality that so many high-level artists are involved in. And I'm going to walk you through this installation because it hits me every time I do this. I experience it. So James Turrell is a light artist. He deals with light and lack of. And he's very much into duality. Okay, so he's not anyone who's, I don't think he sees I'm sure he has a whole different conversation of what this installation is about than I do. But this is what I get from it. This is the insight that I get from it. So there you are outside. It's a sunny day. It's a beautiful day. You go into this room. It's pitch black. And you don't know up, down, left, right. You have no spatial awareness whatsoever. But the reality is that you actually are walking down a hallway to a balcony. Okay, and there's only 2 little seats at the end of this balcony, and it's dark, pitch black. And there's an abyss, like a metaphorical abyss that goes down, because you could fall off the edge if you're not careful. And you have to sit there for 15 minutes before you're able to see the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little bit of light. And he says that's enlightenment. That's Luciferian 100%. Because you know what? The real God says, turn your butt right back around, go outside to the real light, and it's everywhere. You don't have to be in pain sitting in darkness to hope for the little tiniest little bit of light. That's the mimic. The real God keeps the light all the time. And you don't have to suffer through 15 minutes of darkness and confusion and chaos and fear and unawareness and instability in order to catch the little tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little glimpse of light and think that is the ultimate truth? Good Lord. And that's the mentality of most high-level artists. Because they've grown up in darkness. There's an artist that I found the other day because a acquaintance of mine from Los Angeles, he was an art dealer and he had a gallery for a while, so we connected. So we're still Facebook friends, but he posted, let's see if I can pull this up. He posted that he was in New York State, Madison, I believe, and there's a woman named Jenny Saville. I would love to know if that's Jimmy Saville's daughter. Researchers, get on that, please. Her name is Jenny Saville, and her show is currently exhibiting in Madison, New York, and I was horrified. I didn't know about her until just now, and when I went on to her, she is represented by Gauguin. She was found by Charles Saatchi. She was one of the young British artists of the early 90s. That says everything right there, because that all deals with Cicely Brown, that deals with Damien Hirst, all those guys. They were full-on witchcraft. You want to talk about that generation of like Genesis Peorage, like totally abused kids that come up in the art world, and they Lucian Freud, that were their inspirations. These are highly abused elite kids that get picked up and immediately shot into huge high-level success through Gauguin and Saatchi to create a lightning bolt of mimic smaller artists that say the same thing without truly understanding the high level of abuse that goes on. So let me show you some of her work. Are you ready for this? Because, okay, right now, if you've got kids in the room, or, you know, you are sensitive to gnarly stuff, pause. All right, again, I'm not a techie, so just forgive me. I'm just gonna have to, oh, actually, no, I can do this. Okay, look at that. Okay. All right, here we go. Do you see that? Do you see that? She calls that mothers. Can you see that? Take a real good look at that. Are you freaking kidding me? Let's go to some other work here. Gee, I'd love to have that in my living room. Not. It's mothers again. The children don't even have legs. I mean, it's just all about trauma and pain. And then what's this over here? Like the baby that never came to fruition? Do you see that? I mean, it's just gross. Okay, so I'm going to do this so that you can see. Gosh, you know, guys, forgive me. I am just not, I'm never going to be one of those high-tech people that can do these amazing videos that looks all really cool. It's just not in me. I want to show you. Here we go. These really gnarly images. I mean, it's just abuse. Now that we know what's going on with Pedigate, I mean, just the ugliness, the disparity, the pain, the exploitation, getting off. Like, now that we know about the Podestas clearly and how much they were involved in the art world and in abuse, who do you think is going to buy these paintings? Her paintings sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not a couple million. Now, who are the people that can afford that kind of level to buy that kind of debauched art? Look at that. Look at that. That just screams pedivore right there to me. Just screams it. Look, what this girl's what, 11? And there's something, okay, I'm going to stop there because you guys can do your own research on this at this point, because at this point, you know, it's just like looking through these horrible images. And what happens to sensitize young artists that go through school is that they try to reframe all of this debauchery and this pain and this like sadomasochistic exploitation of the human body. I mean, just go and Google her interviews. And she talks about the raw fleshliness. She likes openings of the body, like the vaginal thing. She likes the what she's saying, and what so many researchers now can connect with. She's speaking 100% the truth of what is going on with these kids that grow up so screwed up from abuse. And then they have to express it. I would never want to paint something like that. Would you? I mean, what kind of mental state do you have to be in? I think, you know, there's a Cicely Brown who does the same thing, and she was a part of the same young British artist coming up in the early 90s, Damien Hirst, the same thing. And with Cicely Brown, her dad was an art dealer, and her dad represented Francis Bacon. Again, systematic, hereditary, abused kids in the art world getting reintroduced to this kind of thing through the generations. Francis Bacon was one of the most screwed up men. I mean, we're talking total psychopath. If you read his biography of what he's doing, that's why he was creating those horrible images of just like chaos and like meat is money, and he'd have like these open carcasses of people. He had the Pope. Oh, it's just, you know, it goes on and on and on. But the way that they brainwash the young kids coming up in the art world is to say, well, that's pushing boundaries. That's edgy. That's controversial. For kids that haven't really experienced that kind of thing, But they go, well, let me just copy that kind of energy because I want to be successful in the art world. And then they get acclimated and celebrate that thing. Where's the beauty? Where's the joy? So, positive note, this same artist that I was talking about, a positive note, it finally clicked with her, with the refugees being trafficked. This is huge. There's a reason why I have not been very public up until very recently, because I was still hoping that so many more people, I'm not friends with as many people that are conservative at all than I am with people that are supposedly liberal, okay? But I know what I know, and I've seen what I've seen, and I've experienced what I've experienced, and I've been around so many people in that world that are in pain, and I wanted to keep an open door of conversation. And today was a huge breakthrough. She posted something with Newsweek saying that, you know, where are the children from the migrants? And I guess they posted it in Newsweek because she won't listen to any other news sources other than the actual news sources that are owned by people that human traffic, which sucks. And a lot of liberals are in that. They don't understand that the news sources that they align themselves with are the exact same ones that are exploiting the people that they're saying they're trying to help. It hasn't clicked just yet with the majority of them. But just seeing it click with her today, because when she posted that, I commented, because she trusts me, she knows my heart. And I told her, look, this is not just about getting lost. There's over 10,000 children that are missing. Well, actually, no, I think it's 30,000 now, missing in Italy. Because Italy, you know, everyone was coming through Turkey into Italy as quote-unquote refugees. 30,000 children are missing. Where are they going? They're getting picked up and trafficked. And if they're not used for sex and some kind of screwed up situation, their organs are getting harvested because it's money. This whole global mafia is running this, and they hide behind labels. Oh, well, if you call out certain people that consider themselves Islamic that are mafia involved in this stuff, then you are a religious racist. No, it has nothing to do with all these individual cultural sects that are highly involved with the same business. They're all mafia. You got the Greek mafia, you got the Bosnian mafia, you got the Russian mafia, you got the freaking Turkish mafia, you got the American mafia. Dude, you know how many mafias are in Pittsburgh? They all come together. It's a mentality of people, regardless of color, race, sex, orientation, orientation, whatever. You're willing to do anything for $1, and you align yourself in businesses that make you the most with zero conscience. That's what it's all about. Everything else is a BS derivative, so it throws everybody else off, so everyone's arguing about stupid stuff, and they don't notice that everyone is getting trafficked and used up to become some sort of sex commodity or organ commodity for really messed up Luciferian people. Deal with it. And the art world, in the high art world, is expressing it symbolically like no one's business. It's like they have a huge billboard, but no one's paying attention because everything gets reframed into being, oh, that's not what they're really saying. They're just being a metaphor for whatever. Look, if someone's willing to spend $1 million on a painting of a child in pain, I can guarantee you that their lifestyle is very similar to the people in Hostel. And we know this. We know this now. So benefits of standing up for something that you know is wrong. There creates hope. When people, that's why freedom of speech is so important. Because when you talk, your sound, your heart speaks. You speak things out into the universe. That's the whole beginning of change. In all kinds of ways, you can speak beauty, you can speak hate. You can speak kindness, you can speak defeatism. You can speak courage, you can speak defeatism. You can speak anything. But do you ever notice how the only people that really get attacked are the ones that are trying to encourage truth and kindness and beauty? Interesting. So maybe we should think twice about who we're being told are the bad guys. So the benefits are that when you stand up, people can be free. I believe that. I've gone through personal hell to have to learn all these things, make a choice, walk away from certain things, be rejected by a lot of people on both sides. I'm too light for the dark, too dark for the light. You know, it's hard, but you keep walking, and you keep talking, and eventually you find your tribe. And it's sad too, because in this conversation there's a lot of paranoia, you know, which is unfortunate, but I'm a very open person, so I accept that, and I don't isolate anybody from any camp, because I always know we only have a limited perspective, and not many people walk in the kind of shoes that I have and have seen these things, so they're not going to understand. So I just try to talk about sometimes just happy things. Ultimately, what I hope is that all of this stuff can get exposed and taken down, and it is. And we can create economies based on how we help each other and how we love each other in the world. I'm not talking about sexual love, I'm talking about agape love, like respecting and lifting up each other's heart and their dignity and what they truly have to give to the world individually, without resentment or envy or trying to compete or take that away from them. Imagine that. And we all work together to make the world a really beautiful place. And you know, personally, I want to have this beautiful home where I have the wherewithal to always provide a beautiful place for my friends that are international artists, musicians, all the people that I love. You guys know. And you can come and you can stay as long as you want, and we have these amazing conversations, and the wine's flowing, and we can have amazing talks and swim and just enjoy life, you know, and create amazing ideas and make them happen in the world, you know, and just know what's going to be there. That's my dream. That's my dream for so long. And I'm not going to let that slip away. But it's not going to happen unless we really start changing the economy and what we value. So we have to go through this nasty stuff right now and talk about the nasty stuff and acknowledge it and shut it down before we can truly start living good. Can we do that? Yes. Just seeing the change in that one big artist today. And more people, I really think more and more people are going to realize how much they got bamboozled and they got hypnotized. Do you know how many artists have these high-level psychologists that keep them from really being able to see things clearly? I've met so many quasi-famous to famous artists, musicians, writers, singers, business people, motivational speakers, climate change people, government people, they all have something really in common when they're like brainwashed into this thing. They always have high-level psychologists. And they're into Kabbalah, they're into like all this stuff. They're into this like diamond approach stuff. They're into all this crap that keeps them from seeing what's really going on. Gatekeepers. And they keep them on certain drugs, maybe. It's sad. It's sad. That's got to change. Because are the psychologists taking away the pain? Or are they just giving a certain bandage and hypnotizing you into believing that what your reality is, you're supposed to just love your reality, not change it for truly what's good? Time to change what's really good. It's time to change it. Retune, retune, retune. Retune music into joy and creating hope for people instead of despair. Retune the arts to inspire beauty and connection rather than complete exploitation and debauchery. Retune film to inspire people to want to really understand the truth in history rather than lie through propaganda to create fear, paranoia, and hate. All right, I'm at 46 minutes. I've talked a lot. And maybe someday someone will listen to this. I never get anyone listening. It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, all right, I hope you guys have a really good day. Happy Memorial Day. Live free or die. But don't die. Just live free.